Hello, everyone. My name is Blair Moon, and I am with Your Voice Media. And today I have the pleasure of chatting with Arischa Conner. She's a rising actress. Arischa, how are you today?
I am doing fabulous today. Thank you so much for having me.
Fabulous. I love to hear it. And of course, now you recently made your streaming debut with two new shows, one being Dopesick, which airs on Hulu. I want to start talking about that show. Now, Dopesick is very intense. Now, it focuses on the epicenter of America's struggle with opioid addictions, and you play Leah Turner, Dr. Phoenix's nurse. And you are in 6 episodes of the limited series. It's 8 episodes altogether, and you're in 6 of them, and you kind of build a strong relationship with Dr. Phoenix in the show. Can you just kind of talk about your character?
Sure. I'm actually, and it's crazy, I'm actually in 7 episodes.
Okay.
In episode 3, I call him on the phone. So that's the only one you don't see me, you just hear
Okay,
me.
you hear you, yeah.
Right. But Leah's character is Dr. Phoenix's nurse. He has a small clinic in rural Virginia, and it's just me and him in the clinic. And I created a backstory for myself, where we've been working together for 20 years, and he was the first person to give me a job when I got out of nursing school. And so we have a long-standing working relationship where we've always supported each other. So in this show, I'm really there as a support for him.
Okay, cool. Now, for those, I know that all 8 episodes are currently streaming on Hulu. So for those who haven't started this series yet, what can they expect from it?
Oh my goodness. You can expect to be educated about what really happened during the opioid crisis. You can expect to be angry at big pharmaceutical company, Purdue Pharma. You can expect to have your heart ripped out of your chest because there are so many sad moments, a lot of ups and downs. You may also experience some things that you've seen in your own communities and how communities can be divided by addiction. But your heart will also be warmed in the process. So it's going to take your heart out, rip it apart, put it back in, and warm it up. Because even though there are a lot of mishaps in this particular series, there are some heartwarming moments as well. It's a gripping tale. It has everything in it. It's just a wonderfully weaved story.
So the series Dopesick is based on the nonfiction book Dopesick: Dealers, Doctors, and the drug company that addicted America. Now, was this something you had to do more research on once you got the role, or was it something that you were already familiar with?
Actually, it was something I was already familiar with. I was in a documentary theater piece called Misery is Optional, where we told the stories of 40 people who were in active recovery from drugs and alcohol. And through my experience in that story and being able to I played 8 different characters in that particular piece, and being able to actually meet those people and live their struggles on stage, it really prepared me for what I had to do in Dopesick, which is uncanny that those two things connected with each other. But yeah, I was prepared.
Okay, cool. Now, the cast of Dopesick is stellar. You are amongst the cast. You have Michael Keaton, Rosario Dawson. How was it working on that set?
It was amazing. I worked mainly with Michael Keaton. All my scenes were with Michael Keaton and Will Poulter. And Michael Keaton was amazing to work with because it was like being in a actor's master class, just watching him get into character. He was also one of the executive producers, so watching him work with the production staff was amazing. Will Poulter was amazing too, because like we would have conversations and then we would go on set and he was just being himself under different circumstances. So I was taking notes the whole time, and working with Danny Strong, who was one of the creators of Empire, as well as The Butler, Barry Levinson, just being in the company of all this greatness just made me feel good as an actress, and made me feel like, yes, I'm in the right place. I made the right decision.
I was going to say, it's almost like you were getting the opportunity to not only act and do what you love, but you were also learning as well. And it was a great learning experience for you. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, the next show that you are on is called Swagger. Now, this show had me hooked within like the first 10 minutes of it. It was just so captivating. Now, Swagger explores the world of youth basketball and the players, their families, and coaches who walk the fine line between dreams and ambition, and opportunism and corruption. The series was created by Reggie Rock by the Wood and executive produced by Kevin Durant, and starring big names like O'Shea Jackson Jr., Tristan Wilds, and more. Now, in this series, you appear in 4 different episodes, and you are Apocalypse Ann. Now, you are warning others about the end of the times. Can you kind of talk to us about this character?
Certainly, yes. My character's name is Apocalypse Ann. And yes, she's warning people about the end times, but I feel like in her dialogue, she's doing so much more, because if you really listen to, because I come in and I'm out real quick, but if you're listening to the words that I'm saying, they all connect to what's happening in that particular episode. So in the first episode, you see me, it's right at the beginning of the pandemic. So it's like I'm warning them about the pandemic. In the next episode, I'm saying, are you your brother and sister's keeper? And that whole episode was about the main character not going out on a limb and being by himself, but grabbing his teammates and pulling them up with him. So the messages that Apocalypse Ann is spewing to her community are really messages about what's going on in the story at that particular point in time. But it's a great story. I'm so grateful to be a part of that. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you said that, because that was something that I didn't really connect the dots to. But I feel like I was going to ask you, when discussing things like the end of the world based on like biblical messages, things like that can be sort of heavy topics. So I was going to ask, was it a hard character for you to kind of tap into? And now that you say that it kind of has a connection to each episode that you participate in, what was that experience like?
It was a great experience, because I sat and I actually had a conversation with the creator, director, Reggie Rock Bythewood, and we talked about who Apocalypse Ann was, and he said he wanted to bring a person in that was that messenger, and he asked me what my thoughts were about her and what his thought, and he told me what his thoughts were, and we put them together and created this character that really is a messenger, not just for the community that she's talking to, but the community of people that will be watching the show. If you just listen, especially, I don't want to give any spoilers, because the next episode, what she's saying is for the world, it's for everybody. Just all you have to do is open your ears and listen. And a lot of times people see people like that who are spewing these messages or sharing these messages, and they're like, oh, they're crazy. But sometimes just take a listen and just listen to what they're saying, because sometimes those messages really are messages for you if you just open your mind and open your ears and open your heart and listen.
Now, I like with Swagger how it not only focuses on, the AAU league and the basketball aspect of it, but it also follows the main character, Jason. It also follows his home life and being raised in a low-income environment, so to say. And I really liked how in the very first episode, there was the scene when he went out to take out the trash and he was stopped by the 2 police officers. That scene I felt was very powerful. They treated him terribly. They profiled him before they actually figured out who he actually was. And then once they realized they did know who he was, they started treating him differently. Now, based on real life experiences in the past, we all know incidents like that can turn out completely differently.
Oh, yes.
What did that scene mean to you?
I thought it was a very powerful scene. And I love the way that Reggie puts in dynamics of what's happening in our world today. What's happening in our world today is is seamlessly interwoven into the story of Swagger. And because those types of things are happening to our young men, I think it was needed. People need to see that, and they need to understand that those things do happen, and it can happen in a situation that was just as I can't think of the word, but just as not easy, I don't know the word for it, but something as simple as a young man taking out the trash. All he was doing was taking out the trash, and he was racially profiled because he was Black, and it does happen. So opening that window for people who are watching the show and may not understand that those things do happen, I think it was very important, very moving. Oh, there are so many scenes in the show that are so important and so moving, and that one, it was just one of many.
Yeah, it was really powerful. It's like I said, this show, it just got me within the first 10 minutes of watching. So I definitely enjoyed the show. I definitely look forward to seeing the remainder of the season. But I know, Risha, that you have worked on several other big projects. You've been on Fatal Attraction, Another Tango, and you've even done commercials, voiceover gigs. But like you talked about a little earlier, you got your start as a theater actress. You were in the play Misery is Optional. So I wanted to ask, is acting something that you've always wanted to get into, or was it something, or was acting in TV and film something you wanted to get into? Or did
I
theater
tell you,
have your heart?
I developed a love of acting later on in life. When I was younger, I wanted to be a singer. That was my thing. I want to be a singer. I want to be a performer. And I performed in a wedding band for about 13 years. And I would always sing around town. And I was on our faculty choir at school. And I met the director that was doing a show at community theater here in town called Smokey Joe's Cafe. And being a member at Trusses Theater and being a member of that, I was like, oh my gosh, I caught it. I love being on stage. And then I joined another production company, Wow Productions, which is also located in Columbia, South Carolina. And I was an understudy for a play with them that was released on DVD internationally. It's called Yesterday Is Still Gone. And I did one show and I'm on that DVD. And I got the acting bug then. Even though I was a little bit older, and sometimes I was like, oh, am I too old to do this? But I realized, no, I'm not too old. No one, you're never too old to begin to start a new dream or to reach for the dream that you've always had. So, yeah.
I really like that. One of the things that I read about you, it was that when those two shows aired, you had just recently turned 50, and you wanted people to know that that age doesn't define success. And I feel like that was really powerful because a lot of times, like in life, we look at other people who are the same age as us, and they may seem like they're further along with what they do, or we're just constantly attacking ourselves, thinking we're not keeping up, we're not doing good enough. Like we can be in our 20s and we'll feel like we're running out of time. And it's like, no, you're really just beginning, you know? So I feel like that's a really big thing that we deal with in life. And I like that you're showcasing that, and you're really telling people that it doesn't matter how old you are, like you just said, like you can do this whenever. But I want to say that really reminded me of a story. Marla Gibbs, you know, she didn't start acting until she was in her 40s, and she got the role on The Jeffersons, and then she became a huge actress. And I just, like maybe 3 months ago, had the pleasure of watching her get her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and she's 90 years old right now. So that stories like that just let you know that all the worrying that we do and things like that is really for no reason. Because when the time is right, is right.
I 100% agree, 100%. Also, Dorothy Steele, she passed away maybe a month or so ago, but she was in Black Panther. And she didn't start her acting career until she was in her 80s. And she said she was going to go out with a bang and follow, you know, the dream that she had for herself. And she was in several different productions, you know. So yeah, you're never too old to begin your dream. You're never too old to follow your dream.
Definitely. So I wanted to ask you, when you are on stage, when you're doing theater, what is that feeling like?
When I'm on stage doing theater, it's just an amazing feeling that I don't know if I can put into words. because the stories that I've done are stories that to me are important or that are inspirational. I love doing inspirational stories, and being able to share someone else's message or share a message that can inspire somebody or make someone make a change in their life, that makes me feel wonderful. It's like it's a feeling I just can't put into words. I love it.
So you may not be able to answer this question, but do you prefer theater or do you prefer being on set? Or do you just love getting to act no matter what the project is?
Honestly, I just love acting. I love telling great stories. There's so many stories out there. There are so many communities that are underrepresented, and to be able to bring their stories to life and to be able to be a part of that, it's an amazing feeling.
So I know you have a lot of projects coming up in 2022. One in particular, you are on a show that stars Samuel L. Jackson and is directed by him as well. Are you able to tell us anything about that, or do we just have to wait and see next year?
Well, the story, I can tell you the name of the story is The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray. It's based on a book written by Walter Mosley. It tells the tale of an older man who's going through Alzheimer's or having not having good memory, not being able to remember well, and what he does because something happens that makes him want to remember. And it's a really, really great story. If you're interested in finding out more about the story, you can of course pick up the book. Like I said, it's by Walter Mosley, but it's going to be an amazing ride. It was amazing for me because one of the actors that I've always looked up to was Samuel L. Jackson. I absolutely love him. So all of my scenes were with Samuel L. Jackson, and it was a breathtaking experience for me to be in the same room and acting with Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, and he was just I don't know, he was amazing to work with.
What's a funny story you can tell us that happened on the set that nobody might know? Can you share
Oh God,
anything with us?
a funny story. I think I was so nervous and trying to make sure that I had
Yeah.
my lines. I don't know if I was paying attention to
Yeah.
everything that was going around me, but I'll tell you this, however you think Samuel L. Jackson would be on set, that's how Samuel L. Jackson is on set. He keeps it light and he keeps it fun, but he's really still focused on his character.
Wow, I love that. So what other projects are you excited about? What else do you have coming?
There are two other projects that I am involved in. One is called Players. It will be coming out next year on Paramount Plus. There's another one. I'm not sure if I can mention that one yet because it's still in production, but
Okay.
that one will be coming out next year as well on Hulu. And I'm just looking forward to what's to come.
All right, I love that. Now the holidays are coming up. Do you have any big plans for the holidays?
I am just going to spend time with family. My family has been so supportive of me during my, because I was teaching. I'd been teaching for 20 years. I wanted to take a year off to explore acting. I didn't want to have to look back and say, what if I did this before I turned 50? And my family has just been so supportive. I just want to spend all the time I can with them and love up on my family.
Well, I love that. Well, happy holidays to you, Arischa, and thank you for chatting with us today. Let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm Arischa Conner. On Instagram, it's Arischa is a star. On LinkedIn, Arischa Conner, and on Facebook, Arischa Conner.
All right, sounds good. Everybody make sure you go follow Arischa Conner on her different social media platforms, and also tune into Dopesick, which is currently airing now on Hulu or streaming now on Hulu, as well as Swagger, which is on Apple TV.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Arischa.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me.
Of course.